Hello, everyone. This is this is my second go around. I completely recorded this, and I had some kind of audio problem, and it was completely blank. So I'm gonna do it again because I love giving feedback on Nephron. Yeah, anyhow. Okay, so let's see where we're at. We're gonna start here with Brie's piece. Brie, this is a really great sketch. You got a ton of good stuff going here. Just a couple things that I wanted to call to your attention. One of the things is the width of this tubule, and you see how it varies from thick to thin. Um, I would like that to be a little more consistent over the length of the piece. And a real easy way to do that is just to get a big old brush and I don't think that's quite big enough. A little bit bigger. Get a big old brush and just draw your loops in, and then get a new layer and literally just outline that. And then that'll keep that consistent throughout. And it can have a little bit of a flare to it, but I would say that the difference between like this area here and this area here is just way too much. It's kind of like we talked about the blood vessels the other day. The other thing coming in is that the arteries the artery coming into the glomerulus, so into Bowman's capsule, um, and then it's actually a capillary. The capillary coming out. You don't need to make these changes, but this one is slightly bigger than this one, and I only point that out because a lot of your stuff is so good and consistent. And again, you're going to want to just watch the volume, how big these lines are. That these are all going to be very similar. But as this where it comes in to the capsule, let me just get a single color. This is going to come in and it's going to snake around. It might loop under itself and back over. It's going to come in and make all these great curves, and eventually it's going to wind its way back out. What it is not going to do is it's not going to come in and split off within that capsule in this kind of fashion, which is what some of this looks like to me is happening here. So it's kind of going to be more like a single capillary that snakes all around in there and then comes on back out. Otherwise, it looks really good. You did a great job on this. Henley ascending, descending limb. This is this structure here, proximal convoluted tubule. Do I see that in there? No. And then the distal convoluted tubule you do have labeled. So we want to get the proximal convoluted tubule in there. And then as you go on and watch some other ones, you're going to see, and I would like to see it come on down, bring the artery down and the vein down, and they are going to come off of a base artery and vein. And again, like you can have a little bit of overlap on those if you want, just to make it a little more interesting. So have the blood vessels down here a little bit more. But it's beautiful. You did a really good job. So I can't wait to see your kidney looked great. So the one thing that we didn't have in here though is this idea that's in Risha's piece, where you have the kidney, you have the renal pyramid pull out, and then you have the the nephron unit pulled out. So eventually our layout's going to include your original kidney, a blow up showing that the nephron is inside the renal pyramid, and then the call out showing the nephron. I'm just going to move that one down here. But again, beautiful start. Good job. Okay, so the next one we have here, CC. Same idea. You've got a ton of good stuff. Um, I can tell that you're working towards that of getting the blood vessels drawn in here, and that these are going to go in front of this unit. Let's see, where is that going to go? Let me think about that for 1 second. It's going to ride right on top of the renal pyramid, and this is going to do the same thing. It's going to ride in front of it, which is actually all going to be, they're going to be up here on this level, I do believe. So up here, not down where I put them the first time. I'll get that out of there. And in front of all this, so when you think about your layering, the blood vessels I just drew in are going to be in front. And then just like we saw on the last piece, that where this afferent artery comes in, well, it's going to come in to the front of Bowman's capsule. It's going to loop around. You'll figure it out. It's going to loop all around in here, and then it's going to come out. The efferent end is going to come out. So again, it's going to be a single capillary that kind of runs around in here, and then the rest of this looks good. The capillary bed. You have the distal convoluted tubule marked. This is the proximal convoluted tubule. Hang on 1 second. This is the collecting duct right here. You might think about how you're going to finish those ends off, and it's a good start. It's looking really good. So nice work. I started out with some of them that had the fewest problems, so that's kind of where we're at first. As we get on up, we're going to start looking at some more structural problems. So I really encourage you guys, even if your stuff is right here at the beginning, to flip through some of the other. I'm going to try to. The last one was a little long. I'm going to try to keep this a little bit shorter. Flip through some of the following feedback, because you might pick a few things up. And who we at? We're at Grayson. Okay, Grayson. This is looking good. You've got the afferent artery in here looking good. The glomerulus in Bowman's capsule looking good. Some good twisting around. Going to get on your labeling. Again, you can look at your notes, look at other students' stuff for the labeling if you have some issues. Decide how you're going to finish some of these out. Is it going to be open? Is it going to fade? You just have to make those decisions. The one thing that I did want to point out to you on this is that I would like to see this. You have this issue right here where you have everything overlapping right in this spot, and we got to clear that up. It's just it really attracts the eye. It's very confusing as well. I would bring this in slightly. You don't want to lose it, and you don't want it right tucked up against that. Bring this in a little bit, and then bring this one just down this way, and just get a gap between the vein and the artery, so you free that space up right there. Let me see if I can kind of get in here and color this. Kind of, that makes it a little easier to look at already. So just get in and open that up. And again, it's hard to tell right now but these blood vessels are going to run in front of the capillary bed. So make sure that happens. Otherwise, it looks quite good. So nice job. Iman, same. This one is looking really nice. You need to get on the labeling, and then I think working out how this will have to be bigger to show that it's a call out somehow, that this is the call out to the renal pyramid kind of thing, and that somehow that here's your nephron and it gets called out to here. You have to work out that layout. But as far as structurally, as far as the structure, I mean, of the nephron, it looks really good. Make sure that these connect. And again, it's going to fade from that blue to the purple as you go from the deoxygenated to the oxygenated blood. But it looks pretty good. Oh, let's clarify in here as well, where if you listen to some of the other feedback and look at some of the others, that again, this is one capillary. It comes in and it loops around in here, makes all these kind of fun shapes, and eventually it comes back out. So it's like one really long little blood vessel, and you want to be able to show the separation in that unit in there. Otherwise, I think you've got it pretty good. Just check your labeling. You know what you could do too, and a couple people need to do this, is that this loop of Henle, I'd like to see this thing come down more, which would mean your blood vessels would also need to come down more. So you'd be bringing everything down in here again, kind of like you have it. But just to give, because there is a long one and there's a short one, and this isn't even going to be the longest one, but that's just way too short even for the short version. Okay, good job though. And get rid of the black background. It's going to be on white paper. It'll print in a textbook. Maddie. Okay, this is at the sketch stage, which is where things are supposed to be at tonight, so some people have more than that. Same thing I'm going to say here is bring this down, bring the loop of Henle down, watch the volume of these, that they stay consistent. Labeling looks good from what I can see. And you've got some real fun line work and stuff in here, so make sure it matches your kidney. But it's kind of cool. You don't have to lose all this stuff. It's kind of neat. But again, make sure that the style matches between the two of them. But I think you're well on your way. Looking good. Nice job. Mattie. We talked about this in class, and again, I said this was looking pretty good. This is a great example of the afferent coming in, making all these twists and turns, and this kind of ramen noodle factory kind of deal, and then coming out the other side. That's the efferent. And I saw this with color, so it looked like you had it right. And I wasn't going to say anything. The only thing is that this double looping thing here seems like a little overkill to me. If you like it, you can leave it. Whoopsie, that sure wasn't what I wanted to do. I don't know. I might, leave it as the convoluted tubule, but it could even go behind that capsule and then come out and something like this. I don't know, that loop-de-loop thing seems a little beyond convoluted to me. But again, not going to be the end. I would change it. I was going to say it's not going to be the end of the world, but I think it would stand out. I think people would notice it. And then, let's see, you probably figured this one was coming already, that the loop of Henle, I hope we talked about this in class, is going to need to come down, which then is going to bring the capillary bed. Everything is going to have to come down along with it. All right, looking good. Good job. Risha, this is looking nice. Similar feedback to the others, that the loop of Henle again needs to come down. Capillary bed's going to need to come down with it. The whole thing. But again, I know this is pretty much a water table. This is pretty much what we did in class. But it's a pretty accurate representation. of where we're at with things. So I think you got it. We'll just need to see that it matches the style of the kidney that you already illustrated. So looking good. Go back and listen to the other ones if you've only skipped ahead to this, and just make sure that you're. Uh, a lot of times you can, and one other thing I do, like you pick this up in classes, that you put these, the water coming out and the salt molecules and the sodium and stuff like that. That's cool, and that'll make your illustration look a lot more interesting too. So, um, and let me see if I can pop back here to Breeze for 1 second. Yeah, okay. That I thought Brie had that on there too. All right, so it looks good, Risha. Boldly forward. All right, Rylie. Again, I started off with those that had a lot of really solid structural things. I wanted to pull your. Throw that as a multiply there. I can make sure that you're labeling correctly. All right. Okay, so this is looking pretty good. Things that I've said to other people, same idea of the volume of these things, that this tube coming off of Bowman's capsule is going to be the same thickness here as it is here, All right, so you want to get that thickness evened out. It's not going to get smaller and then get larger. And the same here. This thickness of this tubule is going to be the same thickness as it goes down. It can have a slight fluctuation in it. And then you have it coming like this with a piece coming off. I would get rid of a little bit of ink right there. And so like to where I blow it up, something like, this with the tube coming off of it. And then you can still come down in here and get, some of that interesting shading that you're going for in there. That is definitely not interesting the way I did it right there. Well, interesting, but not in a good way. And you get the idea, but not a line straight across, like it's stopped right there. All right, and I would just like to see a little more consistency in the blood vessels. They don't have to be perfect, okay? They don't have to be, but you can't go from thick to thin to thick. In spots, it's got to be fairly consistent throughout. So, probably saw this one coming too. I would drop the loop of Henle down, which will also. Okay, I didn't see this until just now. Goodness. Go all the way back here. Go all the way back here. How far back in the history can I go? Not far enough. Okay, let me pull up somebody else's and I'm going to take a look at this. So the capillary bed is going to... The capillary bed is going to go around the loop of Henle. So the vein is on one side, the artery's coming on the other, and then they're crossing over in the center. You kind of have the loop of Henle here with the arterial bed kind of behind it. It's going to need to be, the artery is going to come down. You'll get the looping and stuff on this side, and the vein's going to come up this way. So you have to just kind of shift things off to the side a little bit, because if you remember how we talked about that on this part of the tubule, all this sodium gets released that then can kind of go all around, and then that the water is reabsorbed on this side because of the release of the sodium over there. And this capillary bed has to encircle the loop of Henle to make that happen. All right, I didn't see, and I'm glad I did this again because I didn't see that the first time I did feedback on your piece. the glomerulus, the Bowman's capsule and the glomerulus, they look cool. You did a good job on that. So nice. All right. So a few things to fix. All right. Okay, Zoe. Let's see. Um, okay, so your basic structure looks good. You have the proximal convoluted tubule, distal convoluted tubule. Whoops, I mean distal. Get up there. I deleted my layer. That's brilliant. Um, Distal convoluted tubule over here. Here we go. Can we play now? Holy hell. Wrong layer. Let's try again. There it is. All right. Proximal, distal. What is happening here, though? So this is cool. You have the artery coming up, the arterial capillary, coming into Bowman's capsule. It is the glomerulus, and again, it loops all around, and it's coming back out this way. Then this is going to come and say it can go behind, it can go over, and it's going to drop down around the loop of Henle, where it's going to turn into this capillary bed, and then it's going to pick up as the vein. And the vein, so it's going to come, so this vein, I would bring this up here, probably go behind that. You can come up like you did, and you can even have, this looping around, but it's going to come down and connect here. So again, it's going to surround the loop of Henle. And again, this, you could drop this loop down more, which means you'd need to drop the capillary bed down a little bit more as well for the reabsorption that I talked about previously. So that means we would need to get rid of, just so we can clear this up a little bit. Let's see where I'm going with this. And you'll make the shape a little more interesting than what I did. I just put it in here real quick. You can still have some of these twists and turns, but this idea that it comes off, and then again, all your blood vessels will, come across in various overlaps here, and then meet up with the venous structures on this side, and then you get that purple in the middle where you have the deoxygenated, kind of a mix between oxygenated and deoxygenated blood changing places there. So let's see what else. So just to clean that up just a little bit. A lot of people had that loop of Henle really short, and maybe I drew it too short during my presentation. Completely possible. All right, I've got two pieces here now that have what I'm calling structural issues. And if you have watched the ones before, when we get to this, I'm going to lighten that a little bit and just throw a layer on top of it. Structural issues, a lot of people had this, the loop of Henle. Again, let me find a brush, come on. The loop of Henle coming down further in, which is also going to bring the arterial bed and the venous part of the capillary bed here. So we have the top of let me get this burgundy color if I can find it. Go there. We have the top of the renal pyramid, right, coming across here. And we have an artery And that is just way too. We're going to have an artery coming in here. That's going to need to be a very different color. And that's going to come in front of all this. And we're going to have a vein. And again, you can do a little bit of overlapping here where they sometimes twist around each other a little bit. That's okay. And then, so we're going to get rid of that. And what we're going to do is this vein is going to, let's start with the artery actually. The artery is going to come up off of here. It's going to come up, it's going to come into Bowman's capsule. You're going to show it snaking around in here. All right. It's going to, the efferent end is going to come out and it's going to make a loop, and then it's going to kind of come around this structure here. All right. And what I want you to do, let's see, it went in front of, let's have it go behind and come out this way. What I want you to do is get rid of some of these weird, these Y splits where it comes and then it kind of makes this loop and comes back around. Could that happen? Possibly. It's not the way we want to illustrate it though. It's probably not going to happen exactly like that. But again, we don't want to make this, we want to make it obvious what's happening. We just don't want to overcomplicate the structure as we are building it in here. So again, that's going to, you know what I would probably do actually. Let me get rid of this. See, I have to think it on the fly too. This is going to come from the descending tubule. I'd probably come around something like this. And look at some of the others. I'm sure there's ways you can lay out this convoluted tubule here. Could have, you know, a little more. Hang on a second. Pardon me, I had to turn that off and sneeze. This convoluted tubule could have a little more interesting shape as it comes down, and that would give you more to loop the blood vessel around as it comes down. But it's going to come down and come around the outside of this ascending tubule. And then the vein, so we're going to get, again, we're getting rid of that structure. The vein is going to come off of here, and it can go behind that. It can come up, and it's going to loop back. It can go behind the glomerulus, behind Bowman's capsule, I mean, and it's going to come back down, and it's going to meet up down here. Okay, and then of course you're going to have your, you know, your capillary bed, however, coming through here, and some of these can do that kind of thing that some people have in there. Pardon me. And that can keep on going all the way up to where you have it up in here. So again, just some structural problems. The collecting duct, it does as it goes down. So if this is the renal pyramid, as the collecting duct is going down, it will get wider as it goes down. We're not showing it going down quite that far. We're going to kind of let it end. So in this space, this is not actually going to get progressively very much wider, maybe a tiny bit as it goes down, but the top of this and the bottom of this from where you're showing it, and even if you want to take it down here, it shouldn't flare out a whole lot, maybe just a little bit. So I hope that's not too confusing to kind of follow where I was going with that. And then again, structural again is that the volume, so like the width of the proximal convoluted tubule and the descending tubule and the ascending tubule, these all need to be about the same volume, and yours go from really thick to really thin in different spots, so just kind of get that worked out. Okay, on Kaithan, let me knock the opacity back on this. So again, this is another one with some structural issues. Oh, I guess I can just zoom in, that will do it. And let me see where to start. So one thing I do like is you did this call out with Bowman's capsule, and that's kind of cool. We'll talk about it more. So you're going to have your kidney, you're going to have your renal pyramid showing your nephron lightly, then you'll have your nephron call out, and then you're going to have your Bowman's capsule. call out, and that's fine if you want to do a little bit of extra drawing like that. I love it. This is, let me get something darker so we can see. So this is our, I said something darker, come on. This is our Bowman's capsule right here. Yeah, part of the problem is I'm drawing right on top of yours instead of getting a different layer. This is a Bowman's capsule. That means I can probably go with the brown. Okay, here's the capsule. And then you have your proximal convoluted tubule. It just has to make sense. There you go. Coming down your loop of Henle, ascending is your distal convoluted tubule, and this is all okay, which it comes over and it goes into the collecting duct. It doesn't turn into the collecting duct, like it doesn't become the collecting duct like that. Like the collecting duct goes on up because the collecting duct is going to collect off of other nephrons as well, so it kind of empties into here. Couple things we're looking for in the tubule itself is that this part of the tubule is going to be thicker. Alright, all the same thickness. The loop of Henle is thinner, and then this part and the distal are going to pick up that same thickness. And then that collecting duct that it drains into, that can be even just a tiny bit thicker yet, because it would be a bigger unit because it's collecting from many nephrons. So it's going to probably be just a tiny bit bigger. And then these would, be the same as that. Then where we go from here, you've got stuff in here. It's just not everything's exactly where it needs to be yet. If we have the artery coming across here, and we've got the vein, and you don't have to overlap them. They can literally just ride right beside each other. That's fine too. I just always like to do that. Riding beside there, the artery is, you gave me a tricky one here, and it's not, I'm not saying it couldn't be this way, is going to come up, and this is going to be the afferent end. It's going to come in to the capsule, and it's going to loop around, and the efferent end is going to come out of Bowman's capsule, and this is where it's going to come down, and it's going to come down around the loop of Henle. The vein is going to do something similar. It's going to come up. Whoops, wrong color. Goodness. It's going to come up, and then it's going to drop back down. Maybe it like overlaps there. But again, it's going to come down on this side where it forms this capillary bed. And again, this is going to have your, in front of, behind, over, under, whichever way you want to go with it. And some of these can kind of peel off in two directions. That's okay. And this is going to overlap, and then you're going to have that kind of purpley area in the middle where you have the oxygen exchange between the oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. All right, so you had a lot of really good things going on here. It's just kind of cleaning it up a little bit. And then again, I love that you're doing this extra call out of the close-up of the Bowman's capsule, which is what you've got over here. When we get into the Bowman's capsule, though, what you're going to need to show is that, afferent end comes in, and then this will get really complicated, and it starts looping around, and it can be done. It just takes a while to do it. I'm going to kind of do a little quicker here. I'm not going to sit here and draw all that all night. You get the idea that it's going to loop around itself, come back. It's going to fill this whole capsule, and eventually this end, the efferent end, is going to come back out. But this is one long single capillary tube that comes in here. And if we're going to go this close up, the afferent end is a little bit thicker. If you remember, we talked about that in class, a little bit thicker than the efferent end, and it kind of thins as it makes its way through here. It would be a very subtle change, but that builds that pressure that helps to push things out through that single cell wall. As you're showing the Bowman's capsule, that's totally not the color I wanted. As you're showing the Bowman's capsule, and you're showing the cellular layer going in here, and that's great. I think that's going to be really cool. We're going to have to look up, I think these are epithelial cells. I could be wrong about that, but different cells have different shapes. There are things called squamous cells, which have this kind of shape. There's pyramidal cells that are kind of squarish, but there's really long, narrow. There's just lots of different shapes of cells, and so we don't have to get perfect, but we have to get an approximation of which cell type lines this wall. So it'll take just a little bit more research on your part, but you can do it. I know you can. I'm totally happy to help you if you're having trouble finding that information. But let's get that, because you're showing such a close-up. Let's get that cell structure right. But again, I'm really impressed that you're doing it. I think it's going to look great. So, all right. So, and then the other thing is that, matching this and this style, you have such a unique style there that you got to keep it anatomically accurate, and you've got to keep it educational in nature, but you can match that style that you did on the kidney. So, all right. So those were my two with structural issues. And yeah, this is about as long as the last recording. I thought maybe it'd be a little shorter. And then these all coming up have what I classified as capillary issues. Let me see where I want to start with this one. Okay. As you can see, if you've watched some of the beginning ones, you can see the capillary issues. So we'll start here with Clynn. A lot of good stuff. You've got the vein, you've got the artery, you've got the afferent, the Bowman's capsule, the glomerulus, the efferent. Everything is looking correct. What is causing me a little angst right now is that where this comes out and it comes around, and I just want you to clean up and simplify this. And this is okay the way you have it, in the respect that that beginning part is fine. All right, so there you go. Get rid of some of this real complicated stuff in here. Where the vein is coming off of here is fine. It can go behind some of these structures. It can loop up. And it's going to come down like this. And what I want you to get rid of is where are we at? That's 100%. Okay. What I want you to get rid of is a lot of this capillary joining that's going on up here. I want you to get rid of some of that. And I want you to get rid of this split here. I want to get rid of this split here. I really want to simplify it. I want to get rid of this split here, because this would not exist. Alright, so we're going to get rid of that. And we're going to get rid of that. And we're just going to keep pretty much what you had. This is all working, but just simplifying it a little bit. And that's what I mean with, like, some of these have capillary issues where people just got really into the blood vessels, and we're enjoying it. And I can totally appreciate that. But we just do need to simplify it down just a little bit. So that's Clynn's. Panagiota. A couple things. So first off, I love this inset with the renal pyramid. The one issue that I had thought of with this is that if we're going to show the nephron in this kind of upright position, it's like I've never seen a nephron before, with the loop of Henle. If we're going to show it in this upright position, you can't show the renal pyramid upside down. So you're going to have, your kidney. Let me think which way your kidney goes. I can't remember. I think it goes this way. You're going to have the kidney, and then you'll have one of your renal pyramids. This will be your renal pyramid call out, and then this will be your nephron call out. And so you can do this, this cool kind of 3D cut on that, but it needs to be right side up. So you'll have to just, rotate that up that way. But again, it's cool. Don't throw it out. It'll look great. You just got to turn it around a little bit. And then here we have, this is a lot of a capillary issue and also a tiny bit of a structural issue where I would, got a brush. I would bring the loop of Henle down. I would bring the vein and the artery down for this capillary bed, and where these cross like on everything else. And here you're going to have the main artery and the main vein that go along the top of the renal pyramid. The artery is coming up this way and it stops. Okay, this does not continue on. This stops and it goes into Bowman's capsule and becomes the glomerulus, and then that snakes around, becomes the efferent end, and comes out. And then this is where you can simplify some of this stuff. All right, that's going to be good right there. You could make it a little more complicated if you wanted. You could, it could come up here, it could go behind, it could come in front and come down. That would also look cool. You're going to get rid of some of this stuff. The vein, again, comes up. Maybe it goes behind, kind of makes this loop. It can go around behind, come a few things in here. And what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of opacity. We're going to get rid of a bunch of this stuff. We're going to get rid of that. We're going to get rid of that. Get rid of some of those. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Get rid of this. And just clean this up a little bit. And again, we don't want it to be confusing, which will also mean that you could then, your distal convoluted tubule could, come up, and the collecting duct could be over here. And that would save you a little bit of space in the illustration as far as how much room you need to take up with this one unit. And then if you go back and just listen to some of the other feedback that I gave people about, the size of the Anchor 50, there we go, about the size of the tubule. Yours looks really consistent. Oh, that's great, but you get the idea that the size is the same here as it is for that one. So, yeah. All right. So again, it was a slight structural issue and a slight capillary issue. All right. Megan. Let me see. Again, we're in the area. We have a few, not a ton of structural issues, a few structural issues. Same that I've been saying a lot. You could drop the loop down. You can drop this down. You can drop this down. You have your the artery coming across, the vein, coming across. This comes up out of here. Whoopsie, that's the vein color. This artery comes up out of here, and again, it just goes in. The afferent end goes in, snakes around, and comes out. So then we can get rid of some of these branching items. We're not going to worry about that. I'm going to get rid of those for the sake of this. And then the vein, same idea, going to come up off of here, and that's fine where you have it. Maybe it comes behind, comes up here, and it comes down to what you have. So you're really close. What I would do, and then you do have the crossing over of the capillary bed in this area where all the molecular exchange takes place. And what I want you to do is to go in and just get rid of some of this excessive amount of the arterial splitting. Just simplify that. So when this comes out, maybe it does come behind there, and then maybe it does come up here, and behind that, maybe in front of that even, and then behind that, and loops down. All right, and then clean up a lot of that. Just keep this. These illustrations aren't huge. All right, so then just keep that just a little more simplified. And this Bowman's capsule, you got this idea that it's kind of this. It kind of is, but there's no opening. It's a ball. It's kind of a ball. So if you think about it like this, and sometimes it's shown like that, but there wouldn't be this empty space in here. So I would, and again, you don't have to show that part of it. But even if you did choose to do it like this, there would still be color back in here. So we wouldn't just have the white of the page back there for that. And then just like on the previous one, that you're showing the nephron in this upright position, but the renal pyramid you're referencing is pointing down. So you're going to want to reference one of these pyramids that's also facing in that upward direction. Okay. And last but definitely not least, pardon me, a little cough. Last but definitely not least is Lynn. And again, this is well done. I like this renal pyramid, the way you did that. Oh, hang on one second. The renal pyramid, the way you showed this, it looks really cool. It's very, very nicely done. You're suffering over here from an excess of the capillary bed, the same capillary issues that we saw with a bunch of the others, where you're not going to have thin going into a real thick area, going back into a thin area. You just, you can do blood vessel down, shifts colors, blood vessel up, and then, some of these come across, and maybe they come off, in a couple spots like that. But we don't need to go completely crazy with it. We're trying to make this understandable, and it gets really, really busy in here. So you have where we at? We have the artery across. We have the vein that's going across. The artery coming up and just going into the capsule. You've got that drawn really well, actually. And again, that is going to be a thing where it literally just snakes. That's terrible. It literally just kind of snakes around and comes back in and around on itself. And maybe it comes down like this and circles around before coming out the other side. There's not going to be any splits like this coming off of it. So it's just a single. This is a capillary bed. They're very, very small. The walls are a single cell thick. So let's just make it just a single tubule going through there. This comes out, and again, snaking around this is cool, and it's definitely fine to do it that way, but let's simplify it. And the same with where's our vein? The vein, coming off of here. It comes up, goes behind, maybe it comes in front, etc., and it comes back down and catches in there. So simplifying that, and then a few structural issues. The volume of the proximal and the distal convoluted tubules need to be about the same thickness, and the blood vessels are, again, they're capillaries, they're going to be the same thickness throughout. But again, it's a great sketch. It's a nice start. I think it'll be easy for you to clean up. So that's what I have for you guys. That took about as long as the last time. I was hoping I'd do it a little quicker this time. Okay, if you have any questions on these, feel free to update them and email them to me if you'd like additional feedback before class. The revisions are technically due Tuesday, but we're going to the cadaver lab, so we'll look at them in class on Thursday. All right, thank you guys. Have a great weekend.